Hey, Chargers Central here with a big week, playing the Kansas City Chiefs in KC. How's it going, Lamont?
Doing good. How about you?
Good, good. Man, I can't wait for this matchup. What are your thoughts here?
The Chiefs, we've been talking about this all season. Like, they've just been such a lucky team. Like, I've never seen a luckier team get to 11-1. Um, the missed field goal, the blocked field goal, the fumble at the end when the play was called dead, which I still don't understand to this day, how that works out. But they got really lucky in those games. There were several games where they won by 3 points. Um, some that they won by one possession. So most of the games that they've won have been extremely close. The one game that they lost was against Buffalo, and I don't think that was really that close of a game. Um, I really think we can beat them, uh, especially like we were looking at this injury report. Nearly everybody's practicing now. Colson's back, Perriman's back, Cam Hart's back. Lad's gonna play. They were saying earlier this week his status is up in the air. He said no, he's gonna play. If he can get out there, he's gonna play. So it sounds like he's gonna play. Um, Tony Jefferson's the only one that didn't practice Thursday. Let's see if he practices today. If he does, he's gonna play too. So we're fully healthy, pretty much, which is surprising to say. Now the question is, can the defense click? Because last week they were phenomenal. The week before against the Ravens and the week prior to that against the Bengals, not so much. But now that they're fully healthy, Colson back too, can they click? And if they can, this is going to be a scary team again. So I think you got to stop Isaiah Pacheco. Travis Kelce always is going to find a way to kind of make his presence felt, and he always does against the Chargers. I know Derwin knows that, and Henley knows that, and the inside linebackers, they're going to do their job on Kelce. And other than that, offensively, they don't have much. Like, there were routes that they were showing about it with Xavier Worthy. The connection is not there with Mahomes. He's running a great route. It's just Mahomes is not getting it to him. So always pay attention to that because he has that explosiveness and he burned us in week 4. So always pay attention to that. And then offensively for the Chargers, you got to catch passes. Target Lad the same amount of times you targeted him last week, if not more. We need him. Also target Will Dissly more. Like, he needs more than a target, I think, if you want to beat the Chiefs. And then Palmer and Johnston, they got to just catch passes. And last week, Palmer was targeted once. Do we see DJ Chark out there this week actually involved in the offense? They signed Laviska Shenault to the practice squad. Interesting signing. Let's see if he's out there. I don't think he will be this week, but you never know. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, the defense. Yeah, I'm not too worried about if they're healthy. We saw how well they can play, and get so many 3-and-outs. I think the main issue with them, once they had those injuries, was the communication. You got different guys in and out there. The communication's not going to be the same. So I think bringing those guys back, it just it'll click again, as long as they're healthy to be out there and play. Yeah, got to stop Pacheco. That's big because the Chiefs aren't this great passing team that they were before. I know they have D Hop. You were talking about Worthy, who did beat us for that long play. You always have to be careful of that. But they're not this team that's gonna put up 50 points through the air anymore. You have to stop Pacheco. You have to stop Kareem Hunt, who's going to be mixed in there too, who we had problems with the first time around. And the good thing is we're going to have a lot of guys back that we didn't have that first matchup. We didn't have Slater. We didn't have Alt. We had a gimpy Herbert who couldn't move. We didn't have Derwin James. So these guys are all going to be huge for us. Yeah, I like our chances, man. I really want us to establish the run because That just sets up play action, and we've seen how dangerous play action can be against other teams. And who's it going to be? Is it going to be Gus the Bus? Is it going to be Vidal? We need someone to really step up. They didn't. Both of them had some good rushes last game. They just didn't get too many opportunities. And Greg Roman already said, I need to do a better job of that. I need to step up my game. And he also mentioned Herbert's playing at an all-time level right now. Not all pro, not player of the week, all time. When you look at his one interception for the season, incredible. So just get him some help.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And now I hear people saying, because he has the one interception only, how many touchdowns has he thrown? Because like they're basically saying he doesn't throw the ball, that's why he doesn't get picked off. I'm like, dude, just watch the games.
Yeah.
He's not going to throw 40 times a game anymore, but still efficiency. That's what matters. And I'd rather have a quarterback throw 15 touchdowns and one interception than 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions.
Like Mahomes right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he has 15 and 11 interceptions, 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, which is unusual for him. Like, it's a weird team, Kansas City. Like,
Yeah.
they're edging out these teams, barely beating them, and bad teams like the Raiders and the Panthers. So,
Yeah, they have some big weaknesses. Left tackle, their left tackle's horrible. He's allowing a ton of pressure and sacks.
yeah.
Their right tackle is always jumping off sides. They hardly ever call it.
They never call. Yeah,
They never call it. Trent McDuffie's a really good corner, but the other corner, they've been rotating guys in and out because they can't find anybody. So there's a big hole there to attack him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Raiders had 5 sacks against the Chiefs last week. Imagine what Bosa, Mack, and Tully can do now. Like we haven't seen them really get after the quarterbacks as of late, but I think Sunday is their opportunity because, like you said, they have weaknesses in the offensive line. We're not the only one with weaknesses. Their interior is better.
Yeah,
they added Creed Humphrey, but the outside is not that great. So Mack, Bosa, Tully, it's their time to shine now, and Bud Dupree. So they got to get after it because if you can sack Mahomes, pressure him, make him, throw a wild pass, pick it off. There are so many options with this defense because there's so much talent on this defense. I'm excited to see Junior Colson back. I'm not sure if he'll get a full workload on Sunday, but if Perriman's back too, that's a full inside linebacker room. So where does that leave Troy Dye? More situational possessions, I would think, but he's been playing well. So it'll be interesting to see how they shuffle that linebacker room, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Junior practiced on a limited basis. We don't know where he is physically. They could possibly hold him out, another week, but you think if he is ready, they'll throw him out there, But yeah, it'll be huge to have, almost a fully healthy roster against this. This is the biggest. Look, this is the biggest game of the season. We want this win.
Yeah.
Because as a team, the Chargers still don't get respect nationally. We have the record. They're like, oh, who have you beaten?
Right. Right. They try and downplay it, saying that we had an easy schedule. I'm sorry, we don't make the schedule. Like that's the NFL's job. We can only play who we are assigned to play. So we're taking care of business. We've played easy teams. We've taken care of business. We've played tougher teams. Some of them we've lost against, like the Ravens and the Steelers and the Chiefs. But some that we've beaten, like the Bengals. And the
Falcons and Broncos. Yeah.
And that Denver game was not easy in Denver. People kind of write that off, like, no, that's not a weak team. They're a very good team. And some will say, okay, but Bo Nix, reemerged after the bye week. I don't buy that. Bo Nix played well that game against the Chargers, and they still couldn't beat us. So week 16 now, if we beat them again, then what's the excuse? It's just every time they're just something to just put this team down. It is what it is. We're 8-4, fifth seed. I think if we can, hold on to that fifth seed, that's huge because playing the Texans will be better than playing the Steelers, Bills, Chiefs, any of those teams in the playoffs. The wild card, I should say. And if we can beat the Chiefs, then chances of us holding that fifth seed are higher, obviously. But also, we're going to inch closer to that first seed in the AFC West. Chances of us getting it are still slim. Obviously, that Ravens game, if we had won that game, it would have been huge in terms of the AFC West being in contention for us. But still, if we can beat them, that's 2 games out. They play the Steelers and the Broncos still. Again, there's a lot of games here that can decide, make or break teams. And I was looking at the schedule yesterday, the Christmas Day games. There is Pittsburgh, KC, and then Baltimore, Houston. So a lot of interesting games. Obviously, the week prior is Chargers, Broncos, and then the Bills play the Lions too in the midst of all this. So a lot of good games coming up.
Yeah, and you also heard the Chiefs' chances to secure that number 1 seed if we beat them too, make their road tougher, which you always love to see as a Chargers fan. Yeah.
Plus, if they lose, and I believe the Bills only have 2 losses right now.
Yeah.
So if the Chiefs lose, I believe they're second since they lost to the Bills.
Yeah.
So that's huge for the Chargers.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. And, there's going to be so much excitement for this game. You like, I could see that first game, how bad Justin Herbert wanted that game, how pumped up before the game he was, and he just wasn't right physically, you know? So it's huge just having that element where he can run if he needs to, and not having Alt and Slater. I mean, how did they even keep that game close?
Yeah. I mean, we spoke about this, I believe, on Monday. Like, they had no one on the field. Like, Derwin was suspended. And we spoke about that at the time. Like, okay, very good timing for the league to suspend him. And then I don't think Coulson was out there. Bosa might have been out there, but not 100%.
No, he wasn't.
And Herbert wasn't either. So it's like, okay, we're missing JK, but this is the healthiest we've been. And to your point about the run game, we need to see more runs against the Chiefs because the longer Mahomes is on the sidelines, the better for us because the colder he gets. So let's get the run game going. If we need to run it on first and second down, let's do it. Whatever it takes to win. But at the same time, we can't run it on first and second if we're only getting 1 or 2 yards per carry. But Gus has done a better job getting the yards per carry. Vidal, I think, needs to be integrated more into the offense. Also, pass catching wise, let's get him the ball through the air. Because, again, you can't just constantly go to Ladd and, hope for Ladd to get every single target or catch, I should say, because they're going to be triple teaming him. We saw that last week at times. So other guys need to get involved and they got to make plays. We got to see Dissly more involved too. I think there are still options here, even without Dobbins. Like, get Vidal involved through the air, Dissly more targets, and Ladd. Because if you do that, then you spread the wealth a little. Obviously, the majority of targets go to Ladd, but what that does is it opens up the field for him more. Otherwise, they're just focused on him.
I agree. You definitely need to get Vidal through the air going because the Chiefs have a tough run defense. We saw that our first matchup with them when we had JK. We couldn't really get going. So you're gonna need to do something different. Hey, throw in some trick plays with Darius Davis. Just anything to get some yardage without Ladd having to catch 11 passes for over 100 yards. And there was a funny story about Vidal. Matt Money Smith on the last episode of his show said his Vidal's parents came up to him after a game or something, and they were all happy. They're like, you said our name right. Thank you. because everyone else, says it by how it
Right.
looks. Yeah, yeah,
Right. I think also because of that Chilean soccer player,
uh,
Vidal, like
uh,
he just known around the world as Vidal. So when we see that name, it's like, okay, I don't know how to pronounce this now.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I'm glad that Matt Money Smith knew how to pronounce it correctly because now we all know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think sometimes even on TV, like the commentators mispronounce it too.
yeah.
Um, but also commentators. Speaking of commentators, man, Chris Collinsworth broadcasting Sunday Night Football.
That's gonna
Uh,
be rough.
yeah, we're gonna have to expect him just kind of praising Mahomes for every little thing he does, as he
Yeah,
always does.
yeah.
Um,
Look at the way he ties his shoelaces.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
any little thing, dude. Like this guy just hands off the ball. Look at that perfect handoff.
yeah.
Like, dude, it's unbelievable.
It
But
is.
we're gonna have to, just. I might even just mute the broadcast and
I,
just watch it that way
I,
because,
I've seen some fans online saying they're gonna do that. Yeah,
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 because it's just it gets ridiculous. Like especially if it's a tight game and you're like so focused on the game, and all you're hearing is just Chris Collinsworth constantly praising Mahomes.
yeah,
It's like, dude, enough.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have to face that. Obviously, the refs. I just hope that at least like we know Chiefs are gonna get calls. They're going to get calls and non-calls. And what I mean by that is that right tackle that we're talking about.
Yeah,
This guy is constantly offsides and no call, no penalty. I
yeah,
mean, it's ridiculous, and it's been happening for years.
it has.
And I feel like that's why they're keeping him. He's just horrible, but the refs aren't calling anything, so they don't care. They're just throwing him out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it's also on the defensive side too. You'll get, their defenders, holding
yeah.
what should be PIs, and they're not called. So,
Oh man, definitely we're gonna see them hold Mac and Bosa hundreds of times on Sunday, and they're not gonna call any because I've seen it. Just Mac alone, they've been holding him, other teams, and no penalties. So imagine the Chiefs.
yeah.
I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if they call penalties on the Chiefs on Sunday. They're
Yeah.
home too. I'll be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, they may sprinkle a few here and there
Mm.
just to like, okay, just so it doesn't look too blatant.
Right.
But what if the game is tight? Yeah, it's going to be really hard for the Chargers to win because
Yeah.
you're battling both elements there.
That's my concern.
Yeah,
But I truly I think we can win.
yeah,
I haven't really thought like this against tougher teams that we play, like the Ravens, for example. I was iffy about that. But the Chiefs, I really think we can beat them. They're not that great. Again,
no,
like they've been squeaking these wins
yeah.
left and right since week 3. They're just not a good team.
No, they're not. They should have lost to the Raiders. They should have
Mhm.
lost to the Broncos. They barely got by the Panthers,
Yeah,
everyone saw what we did to the Panthers, and they had to, sit Bryce Young for a few games just because of how good our
right,
defense was.
right.
You know, and our defense was really good against Mahomes the first game too. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
besides that one explosive play to Worthy, they would have just had 10 points.
right.
And Mahomes was flustered that game. He was
Yeah,
flustered. He wasn't finding his receivers. A lot of 3 and outs. So we need that again.
yeah. I think we will get it even better this time because we have a better team. Like I don't know if Cam Hart and Tyreek Still were that much involved at the time.
No, and
And I
they're our
believe
2 best corners right now.
right,
Yeah,
right. Another thing is Christian Fulton surprising penalties recently. Like he's been getting called for a couple of penalties a game. I want to say since week 10. Surprising penalties because it's not like like he was a CB1 for a good amount of time this season. But hopefully he cleans that up because we're going to need him to be on his game Sunday. I believe Worthy beat either Jasir Taylor or Asante Samuel Jr. on that play, that deep throw that you were talking
Mhm.
about. I think it was one or the other. Jasir Taylor's played a bit better since that Bengals game. Still, there's room to improve for him, but as long as he just holds his own, that'll be fine. Also, I think if you put Tariq Still or Cam Hart on Worthy, he's not doing what he did week 4. And Fulton on Hopkins is a perfect matchup for him because Hopkins doesn't get involved as much as we thought he would. And also he's 30, 31, 32. So he's past his prime. He's not the same Hopkins. So Fulton on him will be perfect. But I like the way we match up against these guys. Justin Watson comes in, I don't know, a couple plays. He tries going deep to him. We can't let that happen, obviously. Also, one player that is always under the radar, Noah Gray. He's been involved a lot more this year than last year. But when this guy gets the ball, he makes sure that every yard counts. Like his yards per catch is insane. So we have to limit that as well. So basically, for this team, Pacheco is the number one guy to stop because we can't have what Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson did against us to happen again. And then Kelce and Gray, and then Worthy and Hopkins, because that middle part of the field for Mahomes is his bread and butter. He loves going there. He loves Gray and Kelce. We got to stop them from making more gains than needed.
And you feel much better about it having Derwin James back for this game. But both in the coverage of the tight ends and if you need to bring them up, to stop the run like they were doing against the Falcons, making key tackles in the backfield. So they're going to need Derwin a lot this game.
Back in form, I would say, because that game on Sunday against the Falcons, he really looked better. And kind of since the Titans game, he's been getting it going again. And we need that desperately Sunday. But also, just getting Perriman back is huge. Getting Colson back is huge. We'll see what his workload will be. But these guys all need to step up. Henley, we know he's going to do what he's going to do. And I hope we see Henley covering Kelce if it's not Derwin. Or if Derwin's covering Kelce, Henley on Gray. Because we can really match those two and kind of force Mahomes to go to the outside, to Worthy, to Hopkins. Because I've seen teams kind of deteriorate after that long Noah Gray completion, for example. Or Kelce getting him and juking him a little and getting 10, 15 yards after that catch. So it's not easy for teams to recover from those types of plays. So we got to limit them as much as possible.
Definitely. And having those linebackers back will be huge against the run because we've seen this team struggling without Perriman, to stop the run. He's so big at, those hard hits, just finding the running lanes. It's the natural instinct for him. So
he's really like an underrated linebacker. Like he reminds me of the 49ers former linebacker. I gave his name the other day. I forgot it. Patrick Willis.
Oh yeah.
He reminds me of Patrick Willis.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because they both wear 52, but it's just, the way he plays is very how should I say it? Like calculated. Doesn't make too many mistakes and knows when to make a hard hit and when to just make a tackle. And I think that is why he's so valuable to this team. He's very smart on the field. I'm not saying the others aren't, but it's like, Derwin, some of those hard hits that he does, sometimes they're warranted. Sometimes it's a little overboard. But you don't see that with Perriman. And it's just because he's more kind of he has more control, I would say. And it makes a difference.
Yeah, and he's a vet too. We have so many young guys on this defense, so it helps to have a guy with all that experience like Perriman does.
Yeah. I think it was a very smart signing, and I hope he stays with us because I think he will. I think he'll end his career with the Chargers. He started with us. I think he'll end it with us, and we're gonna need him because, like you said, we have a lot of young guys, which is great. We also need some vets like Perriman, like Mack, like Bosa. So I think it's a good mixture on the defense, and that's why it's working so well. If these guys can go into KC and win this game, that's huge.
It is, and it's huge for Justin Herbert, who always gets flack all the time. Oh, you can't
Yeah.
win the big games. Well, people forget we've seen him win in KC before.
Yeah.
It's just we just need the supporting cast to step up.
We do. And
Yeah,
I can already hear it. The defense steps up Sunday. We put up, let's say, whatever, 17 points, let's just say. The defense won in that game. Herbert didn't. That will be their excuse. So any way you look at it, they're gonna hit Herbert no matter what.
yeah,
But doesn't matter. We just gotta win as a team. And I think as long as these guys can catch passes, and you get Disley involved more, Herbert will have a great game. Johnson, if he's given that opportunity again, I don't know if he will be for a slot in the slot.
yeah,
Let's see him catch that pass, because we saw it twice, Bengals and Ravens, and both times he could have taken that to the end zone or at least 25 to 30 yards down the field. Hopefully we see it again. Hopefully this time he catches it, because that boosts his confidence, it boosts the fans' confidence, and it boosts Herbert's faith in Johnson too.
yeah.
And that's big for him.
Yeah, it's huge. They're going to need another receiver to step up. But just speaking of Herbert criticism, I wanted to bring something up I thought was funny that people are getting on him for going to sports cuts.
It's like, what's the big deal that he's supporting a local barbershop?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. They're like, oh, he should have his own barber, whatever, man.
Look,
He's
I
just a
love
normal.
that. Exactly. He's a normal guy.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't get why he gets slack for that. Like, he's supporting local barbers.
yeah.
I don't see a problem in this at all.
No. Uh,
Because someone goes, I saw some tweet that said, "This is my $53 million a year quarterback
yeah.
getting a haircut from what was it called? The
Sports cuts.
Sports Clips."
Yeah,
Yeah.
sports clips. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, dude, what's wrong with that?
yeah,
He just wants to be a normal guy, and I really like that, because there are athletes who are far worse than him, who kind of like just throw their money away and then wonder what happened.
yeah.
He's not like that.
No.
So I applaud him for this. There's nothing wrong with supporting local anything. So yeah, props to him.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, I mean, whether it be Johnston, whether it be Palmer getting more than one or two catches, DJ Chark finally, being unleashed.
Yeah. There was
we
one
need.
thing that Harbaugh said the other day. Basically, Chark has the opportunity to get
In
field
practice,
time.
he said.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting, because it's like, if Johnson and Palmer are doing this bad, how much worse can Chark be? And I don't know, because like when he
Yeah.
played, he was decent, right? He was nothing special, but he made plays at times, and we could use that. Like I would think he's a better deep threat than Jalen Reagor at the least. But if he's being outplayed by these guys during practice, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see what's going on in practice. We
Yeah.
don't know, and we don't really know what the extent of that injury he had is,
Yeah.
that that's lingered so long. Maybe he's not right physically. Maybe he's trying to get out there and he's not 100%. We don't know. We don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, he gets a few targets at least this season before the playoffs, just to see what he can do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like, okay, we're just sitting on him and nothing's moving here on the offense.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins being out is huge. Like, that's a huge loss for the Chargers. And I think, fans talking about the offense and like trashing the offense, it's like we've lost our RB1. It's like the Ravens losing Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Because obviously Dobbins is not getting the yardage that Henry is, but he's still making the impact.
Right.
And Henry struggled like the last 4 weeks, I would say. He hasn't been the same. Obviously, against us, he ran 140 yards, but he hasn't been the same. Yardage has been low in one game, yardage low, he gets a touchdown. The other game, yardage high, no touchdown. So he's been pretty up and down. Dobbins, on the other hand, gets the touchdowns, gets the yardage. So it's pretty much the same, I would say. Like, I don't think there's that big of a difference.
Yeah, I mean Dobbins is that explosive threat. You never know. He can go off for an 80-yard touchdown. You just don't know, and missing that element is huge. The only bright side is hopefully with this 4 weeks off, he the rest of his body heals up and he's fresh for a playoff run.
That's the positive out of this, I would say. The question is now, okay, if let's say we beat the Chiefs, beat the Buccaneers, beat the Broncos, we're 11-4. Let's just say, right? That crazy to say, but let's say we're 11-4. What do you do with Dobbins? Do you sit him out against the Patriots and the Raiders, or do you bring him back limited touches to keep him fresh for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think limited just to get him going a little bit. Because you don't want him to be too rusty for the playoffs.
Right. One way it hurts me because, like, fantasy-wise, like, obviously not having him hurts a lot. Yeah. But another way it's like, okay, Herbert and Ladd, they're going to have to produce more now. So Herbert's going to have to throw more. Ladd's going to have to catch more. So it kind of balances each other out, I would say. But not having either of those two and having Dobbins, that hurts a lot.
Definitely.
But if he does come back, it's going to be week 17. So that's championship week for most, which will be interesting. I don't see him getting a full workload when he comes back. And he shouldn't.
Yeah, and that game, it's against the Patriots, right? You wouldn't think you would need a full workload for him against the Patriots. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of Drake May. I think he's a really good player. I'm happy for Hunter Henry too, kind of finding a role now with the Patriots, and he's kind of his go-to. So they're decent. They're a decent team, just very young. And I think that's why they're just not being able to get over that hump and getting wins. So I don't think it's going to be a tough win for the Chargers. Crazy things have happened, obviously. I just don't think it's going to be a tough win. Also, week after that is the Raiders. Again, shouldn't be a tough win. Or shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be a tough game.
Yeah.
I think we get both those wins. I mean, if we can beat the Chiefs, truly, I think we win out.
It's a very real possibility. I mean, the Tampa and the Denver games are still going to be tough, but we beat Denver in Denver, so we should win that game. And Tampa, we can win too. Not going to be an easy game, but
no, it's definitely not going to be easy. I think Bucky Irving, he's a real deal, and getting more touches as the season progresses, he's a problem.
Yeah, and Mike Evans too.
Mike Evans too. I guess the good thing about facing them is no Godwin, because he was on a tear before that injury. But Bucky, he's going to be a problem. So I think Evans, we can kind of slow down with the CBs that we have, and with the healthy defense, I don't think Bucky will be that big of a problem either. Rachaad White has kind of faded away, but he's kind of taken over. So it'll be an interesting game. The good thing is that it's at home, so we have the support of the crowd at least behind us. I think that should be a win. And then the Broncos game, like you said, we beat them in Denver, should be a win again. Always those divisional games are tricky, but it should be a win. And then the Chiefs, we always split. Like, it's always 1-1. So we lost week 4, which we should have won, but half our team was out. Now we have the opportunity to win in KC. Not going to be easy at all. But we need to take care of the ball. No turnovers. We've done a great job with, not turning the ball over. Limited penalties as much as you can. Obviously, the refs, We
Yeah,
know that. But
Bozeman and that interior line.
yeah,
That,
yeah,
yeah,
that's where I'm concerned. Obviously, like give Salyer a chance. It's a huge game for him too. Like just throwing him in there against a team like the Chiefs, it's a huge game. But give him a chance. He might, surprise you and start for the rest of the season. But he's looked good when he's been out on the field. So I don't understand why he's not being given that chance. But also Cameron Dicker is going to be huge for the Chargers against the Chiefs. Like every point matters in that game. So Dicker is going to be huge for the Chargers. I think he'll deliver. The Chiefs have kind of swung back and forth on kickers since Butker has been out. They had a kicker got injured. I think now it's Matthew Wright, their kicker, or they changed that too. I'm not sure, but they've been just going back and forth on kickers. So you never know.
yeah, yeah. Special teams will be huge. Um, yeah, hopefully Darius can break off another long return like we've seen him do so many times. Every little thing is going to be huge in this game because we expect it to be another tight, tough, grinded out kind of game.
Oh, yeah.
This is a game where you miss Mike Williams. He was always the Chiefs killer, whether it be with Philip Rivers or Justin Herbert. He'd always get that late touchdown, the 2-point conversion, where you're just walking off the field and the Chargers are celebrating.
And I don't understand the trade that the Steelers made because they're not even using him.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I wish, we kind of snuck in and got him, but at the same time, the deal wasn't right for us. And I get that. People want to win now. I get that too. But it's like we're still young. We have, the draft capital. We have everything. Everything's going right for us. We have the money in the offseason. We're going to have nearly, if not more than $100 million when it's all said and done. And it looks like Keenan's going to stay with the Bears. His comments the other day, he spoke with DJ Moore, and they want to both stay on the team. So there are options, though, at wide receiver. T. Higgins, obviously, is the biggest option that we have. I think for Higgins, again, it's between the Patriots and the Chargers. And it's like, if you want to win, you come to the Chargers.
Yeah.
If you want to help Drake May develop and hope he turns into, Tom Brady, then, okay, go to the Patriots. But it's pretty clear that we have a winning culture now. And also a lot of players want to play under Harbaugh. Also, like veteran wide receivers like Robert Woods, he's not getting younger. Like he's in, I think, his early 30s now. Darius Slayton. So there are guys that you can pick up off free agency as well. We just need 2 more reliable receivers, no matter which way we find it.
Yeah, here's those comments you were talking about. Talking with DJ Moore today, he wants me to run it back. When asked if he wants to run it back, Keenan Allen replied, "Yeah, absolutely." I mean, that makes sense. If if they're gonna pay him, he's building his roots in Chicago now. But if they don't pay him, hey, there's always the chance he could want to come back here. But the way he's playing, you would think he would get paid.
Right. That's the thing. Like if he wasn't playing as good as he is right now, I think there's a chance he comes back. But the way he's been playing, I don't see him coming back, unfortunately. Not because we don't want him, it's just because the Bears don't want to let him go.
Yeah.
And also it's good for Caleb Williams' development too, having these receivers in that on that team. Although DJ Moore hasn't really done much this year. And I just think that's because Caleb Williams just doesn't have that confidence in him yet to take that next step. And he might get that next year, but it just doesn't seem that way this year. They're pretty banged up. Moore is not practicing. Swift is not practicing. So they're likely out of the playoffs this year. But if they want to run it back next year, go for it. We'll be making the playoffs again next year. So guaranteed. I would say if we're making it this year, we're going to make it next year. Yeah. So up to Keenan. If he wants to win, come here. If you want to get the money, stay in Chicago.
Yeah. and we've already seen, he wants the money right now at this point in his career. You know,
Which I don't blame him. I don't think anyone can blame him. It's just like you're already financially free. You have the money. Might as well come to the Chargers and get the accolades. Because truly we have a chance to make a deeper run next year. And when I mean like a Super Bowl run. The defense that we have, the capital that we have, draft capital, plus the money in the free agency. I mean, I don't see how we don't make a Super Bowl run, barring a serious injury. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's always an interesting question, winning versus money, and where you put that, because
Yeah,
hey, money can help your family. It can be generational, and winning is nice for you personally. Everyone wants to win. I think I think everyone would want both.
right,
The money and being able to win, but
right.
it can be a tough choice. Fans want to think players will be loyal and stick and take less money, but it can be a really tough decision when it's really a choice you have to make for your family. So I
100%,
get it.
100%. It's just like he's already. I think I'm not sure what his net worth is, but I think he surpassed 15 million. So it's like, you know, generational wealth is there too. So I don't know. He's got to do what he thinks is best for him and his family. Obviously, as a Chargers fan, I want him back, but I 100% understand why he'd want to stay there and get the money. Um, I get it. I don't think he's going to want to take a pay cut, and the way he's playing, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
So he'll likely be off our radar. But there are options. Slayton, again, I think is a huge target for us. Not that old, but not uh, too young either, which is perfect. Um, any reliable receivers that we can get, I think, works. Because Palmer's gone. I don't see him coming back. You have Ladin and Johnson, basically. So,
And it doesn't have to be in free agency. I mean, we've seen receivers be traded all the time.
yeah.
So, and receivers they're always up for grabs. It seems like,
Yeah.
it's the tackles that are hard to get.
Yeah, I mean, the two receivers I think that would fit this mold, obviously, assuming Herbert throws the ball more than 20 times, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I know there are two receivers that could really, because Devontae Smith has that deep threat, but also can play the slot if needed. And then A.J. Brown has that build where you can just throw it up like Mike Williams and you can go up and get it. So those are the two guys that I would kind of look to trade for, but it's like the Eagles, they're contending. They're going to be contending for years to come. I don't see them trading either of those guys, but you never know.
You never know. I mean, we've seen Brown be unhappy there
Yeah.
before, yeah. And
Contract
sometimes,
situations
yeah,
always kind of uh, wreck a relationship with the team and the players. So you never know. We've seen guys like Stephon Diggs unhappy with quarterback situation, goes to the Texans. Obviously, he's injured, didn't work out for him this year, but you just never know. Nico Collins, another guy that I think would be perfect for this team. Obviously, Texans aren't going to let him go, but again, not anytime soon at least. But you just never know. But those types of players, I think, if we're going to trade for, those are the types of players that we should trade for, and really just surround Herbert with these either deep threats or big-bodied receivers, or both, combination of the two. That's what we need, at least one of. And then you keep Dobbins, and the run game is going to be smooth too.
yeah. Fans would love to see it. The only problem is this team is so the Harbaugh style. They're going to want to solidify that line that's so leaky on the inside.
Yeah,
How much is that going to cost?
right, right.
Yeah,
That's the priority, in my
yeah,
opinion. Like Creed Humphrey was available last year. Just imagine Creed Humphrey with Slater and Alt. That's insane. So there will be options, I think, in the free agency for the inside linebackers. Obviously, the draft too. I see people saying, Eric Bieniemy, he's out now. Chargers should get him. I don't see it happening. Also, Bieniemy was good in the NFL, but in college he wasn't that great. I think their offense ranked like 131st.
Yeah.
So obviously not that great.
And that's not Harbaugh's style
No,
either.
no.
You know,
Yeah, I don't see that happening at all. Wishful thinking, obviously. They just want to get rid of Greg Roman, I think.
Yeah.
But I think just give him a chance. If by next year we don't see a huge improvement by this offense, obviously we're gonna have better players offensively. We're gonna have a better O-line. Let's just see what Roman can do with that, and then judge him. Because right now it's like, again, we're supposed to be in a rebuild year, so the inside O-line is jacked. I know, and the receivers could have been better. I get it, but just give him one more chance. I would say let's get him better receivers and an actual O-line. And then if he's still, if we're still seeing struggles, then we have to have a conversation about his job status.
Yeah.
But until then, I don't think he's going anywhere this year or next year. So
I agree. And you hope, Jesse Minter stays too, because, he, he's going to be a guy in demand, but
yeah,
how much do these relationships, he loves to talk about his other, assistants who help him out, and he loves Harbaugh, and could that cause him to stay one more year? It could, because we see guys like Ben Johnson, his name's always out there, but he stays, so
I think so, man. Like, he's still young.
Yeah.
I could see him stay at least one more year because he sees that this team has potential.
Yeah.
Even if we make a Super Bowl appearance, obviously we want the win, but a Super Bowl appearance for this team is huge. For this franchise is huge. So I think he sees the vision that Harbaugh has. So does Roman. And again, if this year we're going to be making a run in the playoffs, imagine next year.
Yeah.
So I truly think there's a chance that he can stay. I think he should stay at least one more year. Obviously, if you get a head coaching job, it's enticing to take it. But more responsibility comes with that. So you never know. You never know what a person wants individually. He might be comfortable as a defensive coordinator in comparison to a head coach. You never know. I think he stays one more year.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, you never know taking that jump to being a head coach, because we've seen amazing coordinators before do it and just fail as head coaches, and then they're just out,
Right. Right. Yeah. And Kellen Moore, last year's OC, he's with the Eagles now.
Yeah.
And the way Saquon's playing is incredible. But also, like, Devontae Smith, the role that Devontae Smith has right now, obviously he's been injured the past couple of weeks, but the role he has now is in the slot. So he's kind of utilizing Devontae the way he utilized Keenan Allen. And I think you just have to give someone a chance to kind of adapt. And also Nick Sirianni has a lot to do with this. Like, if this was Brandon Staley, if this is Kellen Moore under Brandon Staley like we saw last year, it wouldn't have been the same. So that combination is important. It's not just the OC, DC, or the head coach. It's the combination of the three. And I think Minter and Harbaugh have that connection. They've had it in Michigan. They have it now. So we could definitely see him staying.
Yeah. And Roman has that connection with Harbaugh too. And, those people calling for Roman to be fired, then you're asking Herbert, everyone brings up he's had 4 different OCs in 5 years, and you're going to add another one in there,
No. I think you got to stick to one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the way Herbert's playing right now,
Right.
People who don't watch the games, oh yeah, his numbers are low. He's playing incredible, He's not making mistakes. He's throwing passes only his receivers can catch. Unfortunately, they're not always catching them, unless it's Ladd. But yeah.
So we'll see what happens Sunday, but it's going to be a heavyweight bout.
It will. It will. Yeah, remember to subscribe and smash that like button, and head over to Underdog Fantasy, promo code BOLT. They'll match up to $1,000. And go Chargers. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
See
right.
you guys.
See ya.